ready for true happiness, for deep fulfillment, for feeling alive, on purpose, and in control of your life again? It's time to be the bold, brilliant, beautiful woman you were born to be. Welcome to the PurposeGirl podcast. I'm women's happiness and life purpose expert Karen Rockkind, and I'm going to teach you how to live on purpose, feel alive, and be happy in every aspect of life. I'm going to get real about my life and interview women who are living on purpose so that you can finally live yours. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Purpose Girls. Oh my goddess. I am so excited to be talking to you today because today, drumroll please, is our 100th episode of the PurposeGirl podcast. 100. And I am so grateful. I'm so humbled. I'm in absolute awe and celebration of you. It's because of you that we have made it this far as a podcast, that we've made it this far as a Purpose Girls community. I am so grateful to the women of the United States who have left me so many 5-star reviews. I'm so grateful to the women of Canada who email me, women in Hong Kong and Macau and Sweden and the Netherlands and Mexico and Japan and more countries than I can even name, who email me, who write reviews for the Purpose Girl podcast, who are joining the Purpose Girls community Facebook group, who send me notes about how the podcast is changing your life, how you've discovered your purpose or you've stood in your power because of the Purpose Girl podcast, how you are listening in such numbers that the Purpose Girl podcast is ranked in the top 20 for self-help or mental health in like 20 countries. I am beyond grateful. So thank you. And today I want to celebrate you. So I'm announcing a contest for one of my lucky listeners right now to celebrate you. If you have left a 5-star review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts and you have subscribed, or you do so before March 1st, so you have to do it by February 29th, the end of the day, Eastern time. Anybody who has left a 5-star review and subscribed in any time since the launch of the Purpose Girl podcast, I'm going to put you into a raffle and pick a name to get free coaching with me. And the free coaching is going to be valued at $1,000. So this is just for one listener. You are going to get coaching with me. We're going to do an activation session where we get so clear on your desires. We get so clear on what is holding you back. We get so clear on steps forward for you to stand in your power, for you to live your purpose, for you to have a life that is filled with joy and pleasure. And I cannot wait. I am so excited. Here's the thing. I won't know if you've subscribed or if you have left a 5-star review. So what I need you to do is when you leave one, or if you've already left one, or if you've subscribed in the past, or you are subscribing in the future before end of day, February 29th, 2020, what I need you to do is to take a screenshot of your review and a screenshot of the subscribe and email it to me. Email it to me. And the way you email it to me is actually email it to Josh, because we both know he's the one who is behind the scenes everything. And it's simple. His email is josh@purposegirl.com. josh@purposegirl.com. And make sure you include your name and make sure that you include the screenshots of your subscribing to the podcast and of your 5-star review. Again, it can be a new 5-star review, a new subscription, or it could be any time in the past. I want to celebrate all of you for joining and for listening and for being part of this incredible Purpose Girls community. Thank you. So I will tell you that when Josh first said to me years ago that I should have a podcast, I was like, you are crazy. At the time, I had never listened to a podcast. And I was on national radio here in the United States. I was on Sirius XM. An amazing radio host, Taylor Strucker, had a morning show for women. And she called me her happiness guru. And I went on the show every single month. And I shared tips just like I do here on the Purpose Girl podcast. And it allowed me to reach millions of women worldwide. It allowed me to make a huge impact. It allowed me to fill my coaching programs. It allowed me to fill my retreats. That's how I started the Goddess Girls Retreat. That's how I started the Empowered program, my 4-month group coaching program. It was wonderful. That's how I got a lot of my corporate speaking engagements, a lot of keynotes. Like AAA came to me because a listener heard me and was like, we have to have you. The same thing happened with Staples. The same thing happened with Quicken Loans. And so it was incredible. So when Josh was like, you need a podcast, I was like, no, I don't. Why? Well, then one day, about 2 years ago, the show was canceled. Totally canceled, off the air. And I was devastated. I mean, this was the source of so much of my purpose, my impact, my business. And I was devastated for my friend who ran the show. But it was exactly the nudge that I needed from the universe in order to start my podcast. I honestly don't know if that hadn't happened, if I would have started the Purpose Girl podcast. And so I said, all right, Josh, let's do it. I don't know what this is about. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to take a leap. And if there's anything I hope that I teach you, Purpose Girls, is to take that leap, is that it won't always be perfect. You don't have to know everything. You can't know everything. And all of our dreams are possible with one step at a time. And so the first step was him researching, how do you start a podcast? The first step was me listening to a few podcasts and seeing what I liked in terms of intros or outros, in terms of content. Me sitting and thinking and journaling and writing, what do I want women to know? And what came back to me, of course, was my purpose. I want every single woman on earth to know that she is worthy, to know that you are worthy of every dream, to know that you are beautiful and you deserve to be brave and confident. I want every single woman on earth going after her purpose. I want every single woman on earth knowing that she has a right to live in joy. And so I started creating my content based on that. The other thing that I said to myself is I want this to be super authentic. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary for me, but I want to share my own life and I want to share my stories and I want to get real with women. Because one of the things that I see in the coaching industry is that a lot of coaches are out there pretending that they have it all together, that they never have bad days, that everything is swimmy, or they just tell you about something that happened years ago and never say, and today I'm having a crappy day. And I just think that we are setting you up. The coaching industry is setting people up for failure if you think that you're supposed to be happy every day or you think that it's supposed to be easy. And so I made a commitment when I asked myself, how do I want women to feel and what do I want them to experience when listening to the Purpose Girl podcast? My commitment to myself was I want you to feel like we are friends, we are sisters. I want you to feel like you can feel yourself in my own stories. And I want you to feel like if she's doing it, I can do it, right? Because if I just set myself up that I'm on some sort of pedestal, then you may think that there's no way that you could be on the other side of wherever you are. And I also thought I really want to get into all of the topics that empower a woman to be a goddess on purpose, to be her happiest, most empowered self. And that's going to mean some edgy topics. And sometimes my edgiest topics have been the ones that get the most feedback. And I'm super proud that I've gone there. I'm super proud that I did an episode on pleasure and masturbation. I'm super proud that I did an episode on anxiety and shared my own anxiety. I'm super proud that I interviewed Milagros Phillips talking about race and talking about what we need to know in order to be as inclusive and diverse and celebratory of individuality and uniqueness and individuals and each other and different nationalities and different races and different religions, et cetera, et cetera. I am so proud that I did that episode and that I was honest about it. And so today's episode, the 100th episode, Purpose Girls, of the Purpose Girl podcast, is highlighting some of the episodes that you've emailed me about and have said that they really changed your life. Because we all need refreshers on what those important nuggets and learnings are. And there were way too many for me to choose from because I'm so appreciative of how many emails you all send me. And please, please, please keep them coming. It's literally what keeps me going, right? Because obviously I don't charge for doing the Purpose Girl podcast. This is just something I'm doing of my heart. And so the more you all write your 5-star reviews and subscribe and send me those emails and join the Purpose Girls Facebook community and join my email newsletter list, which you do by going to PurposeGirl.com, that is totally what keeps me going and knowing that I am doing something. So before I get into our highlight reel, where I will be going over some purpose power tips for various topics, everything from sexuality to power to confidence and anxiety, of course, I want to read our review of the week. This is a 5-star review called Life Changing, coming from Kimberly Vargas Ortiz on Apple Podcasts. Kimberly writes, Karen, thank you for everything you do and the way you empower us women. Thank you for being so honest about your life and your journey. I relate myself to you so much. Most of what you talk about, I've personally experienced. You've given me the courage to be able to share my personal story. I hope to transform my pain into something greater to help others like you've helped me. Oh, it just warms my heart. This podcast has inspired me to fulfill my purpose in life. It has given me strength, wisdom, and so much courage. I hope one day to be able to work with you. Thank you so much. Much love from California, Palm Springs. Oh, Kimberly, I know we're going to work together one day. I know you're going to be at a retreat, or you're going to be in my Empowered program, or you're going to be in my PurposeGirl Dream Accelerator to launch that purpose business. I know it. And I am so honored by your words, because you literally reflected in your review exactly what I wanted every listener to feel and experience and to go do with their life. So thank you, Kimberly. Now, let's dive in to our highlight reel. So the first couple episodes are the ones that have been the most popular and that I get a ton of feedback about. And I think it's because so many people start at the beginning of a podcast when you're listening. And so I will get a lot of emails from you saying, I listened to episodes 1 through 3 and now I'm hooked, and I'm so honored. And episodes 1 and 2 were all about the science of happiness, why it matters, why we need it as women. As a reminder, women are twice as likely to be depressed as men. Women, statistically, according to a University of Pennsylvania research study, we are less happy than women were 30 years ago. Statistically, women are less confident than men. We don't ask for promotions and money as much as men. There is something going on here. And so under every single episode of the Purpose Girl podcast, under the theme, the loving sisterhood and theme in the Purpose Girls Facebook group, the love in my email newsletter community, is that every single one of us is worthy and deserving of happiness. Now, how do we get happy? Well, traditional wisdom has said that happiness comes from having the checklist. Perfect looking husband, big old house, nice dog or kids, a job that pays you money, right? That is what's supposed to bring us happiness. And listen, I love all those things. I love me, my Josh. You know, I love my husband. You know, I'm beyond in love with this baby that's in my belly. You know that I love my career. But when I had the checklist, according to what society told me, my first husband, and there was nothing wrong with him. He is a good-looking man. He is a nice man. We had a beautiful home. We had a gorgeous golden retriever. I had a good-paying job, but I wasn't happy from it. What I discovered then, and now continue to teach, is that it is inner happiness. Happiness that comes from knowing ourselves, not from what other people or society have said would make us happy, not from the checklist that someone else gave us, like Cosmopolitan Magazine gave us, or TV gave us, or our parents gave us. Rather, inner happiness that comes from feeling fulfilled. Fulfilled is this feeling in our body where we are filled up on purpose, on contributing our gifts, on shining our light, on living our strengths, on making a difference in the world, on being joyful, on skipping down the street when we want to skip down the street, or taking the dance lessons or the painting lessons or the axe throwing lessons. It's an inner happiness. And often what brings us inner happiness makes no external, logical, rational sense. And so you'll hear, if you haven't listened to episodes 1 and 2, you'll hear how I transitioned from that perfect life, quote unquote, including ultimately having a 6-figure job as a vice president of marketing at an economic development firm in Cleveland, Ohio, where my mentors were the CEOs of Sherwin-Williams and Ernst & Young. I had it going on in Cleveland. And how I left it all to pursue this purpose of empowering you. Because I had it all, quote unquote, and I still felt unfulfilled. And I realized that the deep inner fulfillment was going to come from really listening to my own inner joy and what would light me up. One of the things that I knew would light me up was going to live in Paris for a month. So it was scary. I had to say to my boss, I'm going to take a month off. But I did it. And it was glorious. I wrote a blog while I was there and someone in India was following me. It was like my first public writing. It was like amazing. This is more than 10 years ago. Inside, I wanted to run a marathon. Even though I wasn't a runner, I wanted that feeling of knowing I can accomplish something huge. And so I went from 0 miles to 26 miles in 6 months. And that feeling of knowing, of feeling so proud of myself that I could do something so big, right? This is inner fulfillment and continues now. Inner fulfillment of taking erotic dance class. It has changed my life over the last year to take erotic dance class. And there was this part of me that was like ashamed to admit it or that I wanted it. Screw that. That's our inner happiness. Episodes 1, 2, and 3, those are all the foundation. Now, here's why happiness matters. We know from a Harvard study that your emotions are contagious. So if you are filled up and feeling alive and you're grateful and you feel like you're on purpose and you feel like you're on fire and you're enjoying your life, that spreads to everyone around you. It spreads to your kids. It spreads to your neighbors. It spreads to the people at work. And what we know is that the same is true if you are walking around feeling empty, feeling stuck, feeling lost. If you're walking around putting everyone else's needs first, if you're walking around as a pleaser, because then what's the feeling inside of you? Then we get bitter, right? Then you're short-tempered, temperamental, anxious, depressed, angry. And that is also contagious. Contagious to your kids, to your neighbors, to your coworkers. Now, I don't have to tell you what the impact then is of a happy mom on her kids or an unhappy mom. Now, the irony is we give and give and give to everyone else because we want them to be happy. But research is clear that a major aspect of their happiness has to do with how happy we are first. And it's going to bring you more success because research shows that happier people inside, lit up from the inside, what I'm talking about, right? Your inner fulfillment, inner happiness. Research shows that happier people get promoted more. Happier people get better customer and performance evaluations. Happier people have more friends. Happier people have better, longer, healthier relationships, friendships, marriages. Happier people get sick less often because your immune system is stronger. And there's so much I want to share with you other episodes, but there's so many reasons why your inner happiness matters. And I'm on a mission for every single woman alive to focus on her inner happiness first, to go live her purpose and her dreams. Because that is how we'll change the world. With this idea, it's called social contagion, emotional social contagion. With this idea of social emotional contagion, where your emotions are contagious, where your dream following is contagious, that's how your kids are going to go after their dreams. That's how the women around you are going to say, oh, if she could do it, I could do it. That's how we change the world one woman at a time. And that's why it matters so much. Early on, an episode got a lot of feedback to me, and that was episode 8 about pleasure. Now, this was super edgy for me to talk about, especially so early on the podcast. I didn't know if people would just shut it off and say, I don't want to listen to this woman. I wanted to hear the science. I don't want to hear about sex or pleasure or my clitoris. But this episode was so powerful, and I'm proud that I did it at the beginning because I grew up thinking that if I just had success, I would be happy. What I have learned in my journey and in witnessing and being with girlfriends and their journeys and my coaching clients and their journeys is that pleasure matters. Is that a woman must have joy and pleasure and that inner happiness I was just talking about in order to thrive. A lot of people hear the word pleasure and they just think sexual pleasure. And that is absolutely a part of pleasure. In fact, in episode 8, I talk about how women's bodies were built for pleasure, that we have a clitoris and the only purpose of a clitoris is pleasure. We don't pee from our clitoris. We don't do anything else from our clitoris. We only have it for pleasure, which makes sense because in order to reproduce, women needed to want to actually have sex. So we needed an organ that was designed for pleasure. But if we think about this, men don't have an organ specifically for pleasure. the penis, and I talk about this in episode 8, has multifunctions. They pee out of it, etc. And so really owning that we as women were designed for pleasure, and that when we allow ourselves pleasure, whether it's sexual pleasure, it's having fun, it's enjoying ourselves, it's letting ourselves have our dreams and go for them, we flood our body with feel-good hormones that then attract other people to us, that then open up our brains to be more receptive, to be more trusting, to be more creative. Unfortunately, as women, we've been taught that having fun and pleasure are frivolous, that we shouldn't want it. A few of my girlfriends and I were just talking about this yesterday, that there's a shame on women. We're not supposed to want to masturbate. We're not supposed to want to show our bodies. We're not supposed to want to dance naked. Why not? I would say who said, but I know who said. Society, patriarchy. It's been ingrained in many religions. And I love religion. I have no issue with it. And the body is sacred. The body is beautiful. And you are worthy of enjoying your own body. And you are worthy of enjoying pleasure. Like I just said, if you don't have fun, if for you that is dancing, or for you that is baking, or for you that is taking a badminton class, like whatever it is for you, when you do that and you allow yourself fun and pleasure, when you masturbate, you then will be better for everybody else because you will have flooded your body with beautiful feel-good hormones, and you're going to be happier and more pleasant to be around. And I shared on episode 8 that I started masturbating at a really young age and didn't know that it was wrong. When I realized that it was quote unquote wrong to do in public, I continued privately. And I'm proud of that. And for a long time, I was ashamed to talk about it. But it's so natural. Why do we think it's natural for boys and not for girls? Most little people explore their own bodies. And we need to become comfortable in exploring our own bodies, and we need to allow ourselves joy in every aspect. Because as I said, it's contagious. If you've been struggling with pleasure of any kind, number one, do something to love on your body. Take a bath and spend time with your toes, loving on your toes gently, then loving on your feet, loving on your calves, loving on your knees and your thighs, saying kind words. Another purpose power tip is something that you've been curious about and would be fun for you, whether it's riding an ATV, or it is traveling in your car to go somewhere for the day, or it is joining a class in your neighborhood. Do it. Or it's taking a 30-second dance break. That's what I do. I can immediately turn on Katy Perry or Lizzo or somebody and rock it out for 30 seconds and feel so great. Do that. Purpose power tip, allow yourself the pleasure. And then if you've been struggling with orgasm, or you've been struggling with feeling worthy and letting the little girl in you shine from pleasure of all kinds, go listen to episode 8. I then got a lot of feedback on episode 9. Again, it was super edgy for me. Episode 9 was exploring your dark side, letting you know that it's okay to have anger, letting you know that it's normal and natural to have grief, letting us all know as women that it's okay to have the quote unquote darker or quote unquote negative emotions. I think sometimes we hear about happiness and we think we're never supposed to be upset. We're never supposed to be angry. I had a client who came on one of my goddess retreats, and she shared that her mom always told her that anger was ugly. And so she held it in for 50 years of life. Well, on our retreat, I let her just rip it out. I let her just go to town. And she felt so good at the end, where I let her scream and kick and have it out and pound her fists. She felt such relief. And then I turned on fun music and we danced and we danced, and she felt so much relief and so much release. What happens is when we carry it with us, then we take it out on other people, right? We take our anger out on a lover or a child or a coworker. What also happens is that then it just gets stuck in our body and we become ill or we become tense. We get migraine headaches. So we need these healthy outlets for our fullness, for our dark and full emotions. It's okay. We're human. And so if you've struggled with what do I do with anger? What do I do with grief? Go listen to episode 9. And a purpose power tip there is to allow yourself. I do something called the 2-minute temper tantrum, and I teach it to all my clients. Find a quiet space. You can go in your car and do it if you need to. And you can turn on like angry, raging music and then just scream your head off, pound your fist, stomp your feet. Get it out for 2 minutes. What a relief. And then shift into, and now what do I want to do about this, right? Because what happens when we're in the stress place, the negative place, our brains and our bodies are prepared to fight and flee, so we don't have access to higher level thinking of what we should do about a situation. But if you get it out and your body thinks that you've just fought your predator or you've just run, right? With the 2-minute temper tantrum, you get it out of your body. Now you can think more rationally. And even better if you then turn it on with something fun and then you're owning your confidence and your power. But as women, we can't keep stuffing our challenging emotions. And so go listen to episode 9 to learn how to work with that. A couple of episodes that got a lot of attention were the combination of episode 15 and episode 19 with Caroline Miller, which were 15 was about sisterhood and 19 was about women helping women. Because unfortunately, most of us have a woman wound. Some wound in our heart that was created by the other little girls in 4th grade, or by your best friend dating your boyfriend in high school, or by your mother or a sister, or the girls in a sorority system, or the rowing club at college, whatever it might be. Many of us have a woman wound, and it leaves us feeling like we can't trust other women. And what's so sad about this is that our natural state is actually to be in sisterhood. If we go back hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, women were in circle. Women were each other's confidants and companions. If you think about it, the men were off to war or they were hunting for food. And so it was the women who connected, who took care of each other's children, who cooked together, who cried with each other and laughed with each other and baked bread together and wove blankets together. Women were each other's everything. And so it's actually our natural state. But then something fierce kicks in where we think we have to be competitive, either for the man or for the job. We see that there's one seat at the proverbial boardroom table, and we get nasty. And we don't need to, because what we know is that there are huge benefits of having really good girlfriends that feel like sisters. It boosts your immune system. It improves your physical and psychological health, strengthens your resiliency, makes you be more optimistic. In fact, a 2006 breast cancer study found that women without close friends were 4 times as likely to die from the disease as women with 10 or more friends. So we need close friends. We need girlfriends. And I expanded on this topic when I then interviewed Caroline Miller in episode 19, that we also need to be the ones who bring up other women. If you have ever felt like there's a woman who shut the door on you. I remember in my first job, I had a female boss who only hired 20-something-year-old women and told us all, "Now, don't you get pregnant on me. I never had kids, so you can't either," right? It was like this weird thing that she wanted to hold us down. And so I want you to really think about, if you've ever felt held down by another woman, then make the decision right now that you are going to be the woman that lifts other women up. This is why every woman who joins the Purpose Girl Dream Accelerator, a program for women to create or expand their purpose-based businesses, this is why every single one of them, I am going to interview them on the Purpose Girl podcast, and you're going to hear their brilliance and expertise and what they're doing in the world. I want to share their messages with all of the incredible women that I get to touch through the Purpose Girl podcast and my email newsletter. And these women, oh my goddess, I've just launched this program. We just started this week. It's incredible. These women are doing everything from rescuing animals to creating a solution for breast cancer survivors to feel sexier, wanting to create mindfulness workshops for corporations, wanting all women who are in corporate jobs to reconnect with their wild self, bringing healing through plants, self-love. One of the women is working on self-love initiatives. Like, this is incredible, right? Whether it's coaching or as a brick and mortar business. I mean, these women are incredible. And I want to share their wisdom with all of you because you're going to benefit from their genius in self-love and in plant healing and in fascia healing. And so what I talked about with Caroline in episode 19 is being a woman who helps other women, and that we need to be that and do that. In fact, she has an effort called Share 2 to 2, which is share the stories of two women who you are inspired by to two different social media platforms. It's an incredible effort. We often hear of a woman doing something great and then we feel less than, or we feel intimidated, or we look at our own life, we go, oh shit, I haven't done anything. I'm a loser. Look at her. Instead, if we flip that into inspiration, ooh, wow, look at what she's doing. Wow, if she can do it, I can do it. Wow, I want to share her story. I want to lift her up. Or if you see someone who is younger or newer in your company, ask her if you can mentor her. Invite her for coffee and share any tips that you have. Let's shift this into inspiration and empowering other women and lifting other women up. So those were two very popular episodes. One of the things I hear from a lot of you is that you are feeling stuck with fear. Fear of failing at your purpose, fear of going for it and realizing it was a mistake, fear of losing the people you love, fear of rejection, fear. There's a million fears. Fears of having no money, fears of living in a cardboard box. I mean, all of the fears. And so 2 episodes would really help you with that. Those are episodes 22 and episode 96. And that is all about shifting your fear into courage. And what we want to do there is we want to really understand that all fear is doing is telling us that this is important to us. That there's something here that we really want and that really matters. And our opportunity is to either be victim to the fear and let it hold us down, or to shift that into being the creator of our life and saying, I'm going to use fear as fuel. So if you fear failing, then it becomes your fuel to uncover every stone possible that will help you succeed. Do you see how that works? We can use our fear as fuel. We also can say to ourselves, even if I quote unquote fail, there is no failure because I'll learn and then I'll recreate. My loves, I have failed so many times. I've probably shared here that the first group program I ever launched, maybe like 6 years ago, 0 people signed up. And I mean 0. Big fat nothing burger. And then the second program, 0 again. And I felt like a loser and I cried and I covered myself in my sheets and blankets and didn't want to come out of my apartment. And then I launched a third time and 3 women signed up. So I get the fear. And I know how fear can hold us back. It held me back for 8 years from doing this work in the world, from creating PurposeGirl. 8 years I stayed stuck because I was afraid of failure and rejection and not making any money and looking like a loser and being humiliated. And when you let fear run the show, what you're doing is you're saying, this fear is more important than the love in my heart. This fear is more important than the joy I will feel in fulfilling my purpose. This fear is more important than the people who need to hear my story or receive my gifts, receive my wisdom, benefit from the products I'll create. And fear is not worth more than any of those things that I just mentioned. Heck no. So we need to flip that fear into fuel and into courage. And there are a lot of ways how, and on those 2 episodes, I talk about how. Ways of literally flipping it with words, like challenging yourself. You say, I'm afraid of rejection. You would challenge yourself and say, And when have I dealt with rejection in the past? I can do that. That's a great purpose power tip. You flip every fear into a new story with evidence that you've done it in the past, that you can do it again, proof that you'll be okay, what you'll do if you do fail. Every single time we can flip it. You also can flip it and say, well, let this be motivation to do even more and really go for it. And so there are great tips in those 2 episodes. You want to check those out. Now, there have been a few episodes where I have talked about self-love because it is such a foundation of living your purpose and being happy in yourself and allowing yourself to feel fulfilled and joyful and in pleasure. And so episode 7, I interviewed one of my best friends and genius of self-love, Stacey Hoffer. Episode 99, where I interviewed Crystal about self-love and how it's the foundation of having sexy, hot relationships. And episode 48 is all about what self-love is. So if this is a place that you struggle, you want to go there. And a highlight from that episode is that I broke down what self-love is, because everyone tells yourself to just love yourself, but self-love can be hard. Like, what are you even talking about? And I talked there about these different layers of self-love, like first starting with self-okayness. Like, I'm just going to stop beating myself up, right? I'm at least going to not beat myself up. And I'm just going to say, I'm okay. I'm going to accept this is what it is. I'm going to accept the more challenging parts of me. I'm going to be okay with my belly that grew after I had a baby or my thighs that grew. And we move from okayness to then tolerance, to then self-liking, to self-loving, and all the way to self-celebrating. And I have been with women of all shapes and all sizes and all colors and all nationalities who have loved themselves, who wore red hot pants even if they were larger than every other woman in the room and they looked hot and sexy. And we get there with having a lot of self-compassion, right? A lot of self-kindness. First, kindness, dropping the self-judgment, having a lot of kindness, recognizing common humanity. This is something that most women struggle with, or that many people struggle with. Recognizing this isn't my story. I was told what my body should look like by society, by men, by my mother, or by fashion magazines. But if we go back to the 13th century and you're in an art museum, you will see that the beauty standard then was round and voluptuous. And probably women then who were too thin, they felt like crap. And of course, I'm using body as just one example because we can self-loathe about our personality. We can self-loathe about our minds. We can self-loathe about a lot of things. So I'm just using body as an example. And the opportunity for each of us is to move up this ladder from self-okayness and self-tolerance through self-liking, loving, and celebrating. And I give many purpose power tips in episode 48 and these other episodes 7 and 99 for you to check out. And it begins with being kind to yourself the way that you would to a child. And you can look at, as an example, your thighs and, oh, aren't you so sweet and adorable thighs? Yes, you grew after my babies. Thank you for pushing out babies. Ooh, look at my belly. It's so yummy. Right? We have the opportunity to shift the story. And that's what self-love is all about. It's not getting yourself to any sort of perfection because there is no such thing. Episode 51 is something that I have heard from a lot of women about because it is the relationship between mothers and daughters. And we all know that there can be a wide range and a lot of fire and a lot of love and a lot of challenge between mothers and daughters. And in that episode, I interviewed 2 guest experts, Lisa Lapidus and Crystal Murray Mills, all about how to strengthen that connection between mothers and daughters. And it comes down to vulnerability and really being vulnerable and honest with yourself and with your daughter about your own struggles, letting her know that it's okay. It comes down to seeing your daughter and your mother for who they are, accepting and loving them as they are rather than any expectation of what it's supposed to be. And it comes down to learning beautiful communication styles and techniques. And on episode 51, we announced the Mother-Daughter Retreat, the PurposeGirl Mother-Daughter Retreat. And I am thrilled to be sharing with you, Purpose Girls, that we're going to be doing it again. And Crystal and I are going to be doing it. She is a therapist who is certified in working with teens and in love and attachment style and is genius at working with mother-daughters. And so we're going to be doing this retreat the first weekend in May in Philadelphia, actually in my home. And it's going to be so powerful. And it is for girls age 12 all the way up to women age whatever, 99, 100, you name it. And we are going to support you and your mother or daughter or both in self-love and then creating the kind of bond between you two. And I had an experience doing this. I did a workshop for mothers and daughters, and all mothers and daughters were crying by the end and hugging because they shared to a depth that they never have before. And it was so beautiful. So definitely check out episode 51. And for information on the mother-daughter retreat, go to PurposeGirl.com/mother-daughter. PurposeGirl.com/mother-daughter. Now, episode 74 was something that I also heard from several of you on. It was on what I call the 7 sacred sins that keep women stuck. And these include self-doubt, self-hatred, shame, sacrifice, being stifled, survival and being scared, and being stuck. And these 7 S sacred sins, every single one of them is what is keeping us stuck, what is making us feel less than, what is making us feel not enough, what is keeping us from asking for the raise, asking for the promotion, showing up in the world with friends or family, community, the way that we want to. And so if any one of those is something that you struggle with, self-doubt or self-hatred or shame, or you find yourself, you're sacrificing, like you are saying yes to everyone else's needs first. Your neighbor needs help. Even though you were going to take a bath and you really needed a night to yourself, you say, yes, I'll help you. Another kid's mom calls you that they really need help with carpool and could you take their shift? And even though you were going to finally sit down and work on that book that you've been wanting to write, you say yes, and you drive the carpool and there goes 4 hours of your day. Right? We sacrifice ourselves at the expense of saying yes to everybody else. And so that is just one example. Shame is another. Women are filled with shame that doesn't belong to us because we've been told we're bad if we enjoy sex. We're bad if we masturbate. We're bad if we talk about money. We're bad if we ask for the raise. We're bad if we brag or we talk about ourselves, and screw all of that. Those are not our stories. We didn't give them to ourselves. Someone else gave them to us. And it is holding you back from actually showing up to your boss and saying, here are 3 emails from my best clients about why they love me. Here are the things I've done for the company. I would like a raise of 10% or 20% or whatever it might be. I'm ready for the next level. What do I need to do? These sacred sins keep us stuck, and it is time to say no. So check out episode 74 for that. In fact, I've done a couple of episodes about how to thrive at work. You know, I do corporate workshops and keynote speeches and consulting engagements with companies like Amazon and Capital One, Van Cleef & Arpels, Staples, AAA, BMW. And we know from the science that every single one of us has the ability to be a leader, even in the midst of change or chaos, that by using your strengths, by knowing and using your strengths, by having a mindset that is able to shift from thinking, well, this place stinks, it's never worked before, or we can't do it, or these people are awful. Anything that you say to yourself like that, shifting your mindset by asking new questions like, well, how can I improve it? What is possible for me? What are the ways that I might move forward? How could I bring my creativity here? How could I talk to my boss, right? We flip it. The more you flip your mindset and you show up with your strengths, the more you will thrive at work. And so, as an example, on episode 85, I talk about things like how to start a team meeting with positivity. On episode 85, I share with you tips on how to incorporate every pathway of flourishing into your workplace. I talk about how to know and capitalize on your strengths, and then how to recognize and capitalize on your coworkers' strengths, which just makes them feel good and want to work with you more, which means better evaluations, which means better promotion, better raise, etc. So there are a few episodes on how to thrive at work and what women can do, and 85 is just one example of that. And I'm so honored. Next month, I am the keynote speaker at Amazon's International Women's Day Conference. This week, I am doing 2 workshops at the jeweler Van Cleef & Arpels at their corporate office about purpose for emerging leaders and how to really know who you are and what you want and to know your strengths and to go for it. And so if you're in a company, then call me, bring me in, talk to your human resources executives or talk to your leadership development people. I'd love coming in and empowering every single employee to take charge of his or her career, his or her life, to bring those aspects of happiness and purpose and success to their work right now, because I want all of you to thrive. I want all of you to have as much success as possible. So go on over to PurposeGirl.com. I have a whole page about speaking and corporate workshops, and send me a message and I would love to come in. One episode I've actually gotten more messages about than anyone else. And that episode was episode 90, which was about anxiety. And it was the one episode that I've had a male guest on. And I was a little nervous to do this because I obviously am all about empowering women. And I know what it's like to suffer from general anxiety disorder. And I know how anxiety can threaten to hold me back. And I know that it is the number one diagnosed mental illness, at least here in the United States. And so I knew it was important to bring on the best guest possible for every single one of you out there and every single one of your daughters and sons and every single one of your friends who suffers from anxiety. And so my guest, PhD Dr. Todd Pressman, came on and wowed me and wowed my listeners. I have received more emails and Instagram direct messages about that episode than any other. I think it was because this is something that we all suffer from. And on that episode, he takes me through his process that he designed specifically to release anxiety. And he has me in real time share what are the core fears that are going on. And he does so beautifully. And right after that episode aired, one of my coaching clients said, I just listened twice. The first time I did the exercise with you and was, listening to your story. And the second time I did the exercises for myself. And here's what I discovered. It was so powerful. And I heard that actually from 3 different clients. And so if anxiety is something that you suffer from, something that you feel like is holding you back, on this episode, episode 90, Todd will give you specific tools to move through that anxiety and how to shift it in your life and work with it and turn that fear or anxiety into fulfillment, which we talked about at the beginning of the episode is where it's at. So you definitely want to check that out. The last couple episodes I want to talk about are recent episodes, and those have been about how to launch a purpose-based business. I've heard from so many of you that this episode was so powerful for you because you've been in a job or you've been a stay-at-home parent or whatever it might be. And in your mind, you have been dreaming about putting your purpose out in the world, opening up a shop, becoming a coach, becoming a consultant, creating your own gig, having a side hustle. And I posted in my Purpose Girls Facebook group, what's your dream for 2020? And I had no idea what all of you would tell me. And the majority of you posted that you have a dream of launching a business, of empowering women or creating a business where you go into schools and teach kids or creating a fashion line. It was amazing. And so episode 94, I give you the specific steps to launch your purpose-based business. And that was the birth of having my Purpose Girl Dream Accelerator, where now there are 7 women who are all together in this intimate group with my coaching and each other's support. We are getting to the heart of each other's purpose businesses and what is holding them back and tools and tips and action steps to move forward. And it's so powerful. So if this is something you've been sitting with, you definitely want to check out episode 94. And then I talk about it a little bit more in episode 98 because I talk about your money story, because I see money is what's holding so many women back from really living their purpose and going for it. And I could probably talk about every episode, and I've already talked more than I intended to and given you more highlights than I even intended to. There's just so much. And I wanted to share it all again because I am so grateful. I'm so grateful that my message is resonating with you, and I'm so grateful that the Purpose Girl podcast is impacting you and is helping you to change your life For years before creating Purpose Girl, I just had a dream that I would inspire thousands or millions of women to love themselves and go for their dreams and live their purpose. And I didn't know how I would do it. That held me back for so long. How? And finally, when I took one step, which I talk about in multiple episodes, the first step, and of course is what I teach in the Dream Accelerator and in the Empowered program, I realized that there was so much more power in taking action than there was in all of the fear. It doesn't mean everything has gone perfectly or that I've succeeded. I've already shared with you, I've failed throughout the process. But I get to work with you every week. I get to empower women around the world. That is my biggest dream. And so on this 100th episode, I am thanking you. I am celebrating you. I am so appreciative of you. That's why I want to work with one of you as a coach and give you a free activation session. So if you're listening and you've been wanting my coaching but feeling like you couldn't afford it or you were scared, now is the time to celebrate you. Please enter into the raffle, the contest. Go on over to Apple Podcasts, leave your 5-star review or find the one that you left from a while ago. Take a screenshot, subscribe, take a screenshot of that and email it to Josh at PurposeGirl.com. Because I want to celebrate you. And I want to celebrate you in the Purpose Girls Facebook group. So please make sure you're joining us there. And I want to celebrate you in my email newsletter. That is where every week I am now sending out a quick Purpose Girl Power Bites video. The way to get that is to get my Purpose Girls newsletter. So you want to make sure you are going to PurposeGirl.com and you are signing up right there. And with it, you get a free gift. And then every week you are going to get that video from me, as well as be the first to find out about retreats I'm doing and programs and get in before it sells out. I love what I do. I hope you feel that in every single cell of your body. I am in awe that I get to do this work in the world. I am so appreciative of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the Purpose Girl podcast with your daughters and your friends and your coworkers and your human resources executives and every woman you know. Thank you for being part of the Purpose Girl community. Together, we are changing the world one woman at a time. And because of you, I get to live my life purpose. And I don't even have enough words for gratitude for that. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. May you live purposefully. May you love yourself. And may you love life. Bye for now.